Hey there friends, and thanks for joining me again for another exciting edition of Quick Tip Tuesday. And today I have for you how to plant a strawberry patch without breaking the bank, but it's also going to be really fast, really easy, and really reliable method. So basically, there are 3 different ways that you can start strawberry plants. The first one is from seeds, but strawberry seeds can be a little bit finicky to try and germinate, so it can be a little bit of a challenge there. Plus, it can also take up to 2 years before they're finally big enough to produce fruit. So personally, I don't recommend that method. It may be, a more cheap way to get it done, but it just takes too long and it can be a little bit too much of a challenge for me. The second way would be with bare root plants. Bare root plants are really inexpensive, way cheaper than buying the third method, which would be potted plants. However, they are a little bit unreliable. Sometimes if we put them outside, when they actually come to the stores, which is another reason why they can be a little bit difficult, they send them out in my area in March. However, they don't want to really get snowed on, they don't want heavy frost, and yet we're going to still continue to get snow and frost until the end of April, sometimes even the beginning of May. So it's really not the right time to plant them outside, but that's when they're available in the store. And when they're available in the store, that's when they really need to get planted. So you can't really buy them that early and then wait that long before you plant them. They really need to get planted right away. So, it kind of doesn't work out very well. And then of course the third way would be the potted plant method. Those are really reliable. You plant them in there the first year, you get fruit just like you would with bare roots. The problem is they're really expensive. It's definitely the most expensive method to go with. Explain a method that is going to, make it to where you can have your cake and eat it too. It's going to be really inexpensive, but it's going to also be really reliable and easy like the potted plants. So, just a couple things really quick about strawberries. When it comes to how many you want to buy, they need to be potted or planted outside ultimately, because we want to begin with the end in mind, of course. If you have an area that's about 10 square feet, you can buy 10 plants, because that's how many bare roots usually come in, as packages of 10. So if you have a area that's 20 square feet, you can do 20 plants, and 30 square feet, 30 plants, etc. So plant them about 1 foot apart, and then buy each bundle based on how many you can fit in your yard. The second thing I want to talk about is the different types of strawberries. There's 2 main types of strawberries. There's everbearing and there's June-bearing. June-bearing usually produce 1 large crop all in June, which is good for people who want to make preserves or whatnot, and they want a lot of, strawberries all at once. Everbearing really depends on the different types. Some people say everbearing produces 2 crops, one in June and then another one in late summer. Some people say everbearing produce continuously, not as much as the June-bearing, but it's more spread out rather than a lot all at once like the June-bearing. So, again, I really think it depends on the type. This quinault that I just got from Walmart, I've planted these before, and I honestly think that they produce the whole summer, as long as the temperature is above 70 but below 90, in the daytime high temps in Fahrenheit. So yeah, those are 2 different types, so you can choose depending on which type you want. Do you want to have, some that you can just fresh eat all summer long, or you want something fun for the kids to do, go out and pick some and have a nice healthy snack while they're outside playing or whatnot, or do you want to make something like preserves? So you can choose the right variety and make sure to get the right amount for how many you're going to have, how many plants you're going to need for how much space you have outside. So what we're going to do is we're going to take these bare root plants and we're actually going to pot them up ourselves. This is actually what the big box stores do, and all the greenhouses and things. When they have potted plants they're selling, they just take the bare roots they took out last year and put them in. So the first thing you want to do when you're buying your plants, you're going to want to try and buy them as soon as they come into the store. If you're buying them at Walmart, as soon as they come into Walmart. If you're buying them from, say, a greenhouse store, get them as soon as they come in there and whatnot. You want to make sure they look alive. They have some sort of signs of life. If they don't have signs of life, you don't want to get them. They're probably too old or they'll be dead. So if you can look through the package here, you can kind of see the little stems growing there. That's what you want to look for. You want to make sure that they are alive, because again, if they don't look alive through the package, they're probably not going to work out very well. So there you go. You can see the little leaves are starting to grow. And they come in a big bundle of the plants that can be a little bit hard to separate. So they come rubber banded. I usually just dig and find the rubber band, and then I'm going to go ahead and snip it off. and then take that off. There we go. And then you can really, really gently separate out the plants. We don't want to break any of the leaves. That'll make them less likely to survive. So you separate out your little plants, and now it's going to have some roots, some little dead leaves, and then some alive leaves. But what we're going to want to do is really carefully snip off all of the dead growth from last year. If this gets planted below the soil, it's just going to rot anyway. If you leave it above, it just looks ugly. So we're just going to snip all of it off. And this also makes it to where you can see the crown better, which is crucial. This is really, really important, actually. So the next thing we're going to do is we're going to stick it in one of our little pots, hold it in the center, and then we're going to fill around the sides until it's to the right level. The right level would be just above the roots. This area between where the leaves start to sprout and the roots grow below is called the crown. If you bury this part of the plant, it'll actually rot and die. If you plant it too high and the roots are sticking out, the plant dries out and dies. So this is probably the #1 mistake that makes people who have planted strawberries think that they are actually difficult to grow. They're actually not difficult to grow at all. They're actually really easy and reliable as long as you plant them at the right depth. So I'm going to hold it in the center there, and I'm just going to put some regular potting soil around the sides until I get it just to the right depth. Kind of firm it a little bit. You don't want to push it down too much, but I want to make sure that even once it's watered, it's to the right level. It's not too high, not too low. So there we go. Super, super easy to do. You can do a whole package of these in no time at all. Now once these are done, all you have to do is set them in a tray or whatever it is you have around, and then give them water, of course, and then a little bit of sunlight. If you have a greenhouse, that would be great. Go ahead and put them in there. If not, a sunny window should work okay. Depending on what kind of windows you have, if you have like a low E glass, you may have to use like a plant light or something like that. You know, even just an expensive one would probably be fine. And there you go, super easy. And then once these actually start to grow and they turn green, and you'll see in an update video later on how well these do, they're going to be ready to plant outside once the weather improves. Once we no longer have snow and frost and maybe other areas of the country where you get a lot of rain, it won't, rain so heavily on them that it'll actually flood. If you get these in your area where it's actually okay for you to plant them outside, do exactly what I just did in the pot, but in the soil outside. So just plant them to their crown, and then obviously they'll get plenty of sun out there, and just keep them watered and they should be fine, but not overwatered, of course. When you plant them outside, make sure you plant them to the same depth as the pot that you have here. It's best to plant them in an area where it's pretty sunny. Sometimes strawberries don't mind a little part shade, but mostly sunny would be good, or just sun in the morning and then part shade in the afternoon would also be okay, or vice versa, that would also be fine. So let's go through the cost breakdown. So we needed 3 materials mainly to do this job. We needed the bare root plants, we need the pots, and we need the soil. So I'm actually starting 3 packages of these, or 30 plants. So I bought, obviously 3 packages at $3.33 each at my local Walmart store. That would be about $10. For the soil, I bought a big bag of soil for seed starting, and it was leftover, but I'll include it in the price, of course. So my bag of soil was $11, and it looks like I'm going to need about a quarter of that bag, or $2.75 for the soil. And then the pots, I actually buy these at the dollar store in packages of 6. So for my 30 plants, I'm obviously going to need 5 packages of them. So $10 for the plants, $2.75 for the soil, 5 packages of plants, $5, or pots, $5. So there we have about $17.75 total cost to do this, planting the bare roots ahead of time rather than waiting until the potted plants are available in the garden center. Potted plants, I mentioned they were really expensive. So let's compare the method that I've showed you today to how much it would cost if we did that method, if we went ahead and bought potted plants later on. So last year Walmart sold these for $2 each, and then the home improvement stores in my area sold them for $2.50 each. So if we were to buy the same 30 plants that I'm starting today from a big box store like Walmart or a home improvement store, it would have cost me between $60 and $75 to start my strawberry garden rather than the method I've done here today with you for less than $18. So there's a huge savings in doing it this way. You get all of the reliability of the potted plants without all of the cost. So hopefully this video was helpful to you. I'm really excited. Everybody that I know loves strawberries. My kids are really excited too. You know, and if you take really good care of your strawberry plants, if you mulch them in the fall and whatnot, they'll actually come back year after year. So this may even be a one-time expense that you make, and then you pick strawberries for a really long time. And they actually send off runners. They send off these little baby plants that replant themselves, and so you'll have some to either, you know, start other gardens elsewhere, or even sell or trade with your neighbors for, you know, things that they may have that you don't have or whatnot. So it's really great. It's a win-win. So hopefully you found this video helpful, a nice, inexpensive, fast way to get fruit same year from strawberry plants and yet really easy. So I'm Frugal Gringo. Thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.